No.
I think we are live. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 255. This is the one where I fake the funk and pretend I'm not getting a cold and just smile. So I'm going to get into it here in just a minute. I think maybe the other guys are going to be showing up. Maybe not. We'll give them a minute. And we got a couple quick updates to talk about. And then we're going to get into the questions and all of that. So first of all, just want to say thanks for being here. Whether it's your first time or maybe it's your 255th time. Actually, that'd be pretty awesome. If someone here has watched most of these, let us know on the page. I'm really curious because I know we've had people watching us for years. So anyways, back to what I was talking about.
By the way, just let me interrupt you. God bless anybody that's watched us 255 hours.
You spent 255 hours of your life with us. That's pretty impressive. Let's I'm going to start up top. Bradley, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here. Kind of getting excited because, you know, our POFU Live event's coming up in a few weeks, like 2 or 2.5, something like that. And I'm pretty excited about that. So
good deal. Chris, how about yourself?
Doing good. Just looking for an improved flight to Denver.
Yeah, I was about to say, you know, this is a natural lead-in. Anyone who's coming to POFU Live, or if you haven't yet, go to pofulive.com, grab your tickets. Like Bradley said, you got 2.5 weeks. And then make sure you've got your tickets. But even if you do that, make sure that what happened to Chris doesn't happen to you. So Chris, what's been going on?
Well, another airline went bust pretty much. But like, if you book with the right agency, you get like the money refunded immediately. And yeah, it's now time to look for a better flight.
So you got caught up in that British company travel agency that got like 600 people?
Yeah, it's actually a sub company. It's Condor.
Okay.
So
that's crazy, by the way.
Man, well, at least they refunded it to you, so that's the good news. Let's see. And
we live in Europe.
What's that?
We live in Europe, not in the US.
Yeah, you got refunded. All right, well, before we get into it, you know, we did touch on POFU Live real quick. Tomorrow, I'm going to drop the link, but tomorrow, Bradley, that's tomorrow, isn't it? The webinar?
Yes, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
Losing my mind here. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to have a webinar. We're going to be talking about POFU, but then also, of course, about POFU Live, because we think this is important. I mean, there's a reason we put it on our shirts. There's a reason when you come to POFU Live, you get a coin that, although the design changes, it does say POFU on there. And what it's about, you know, it's something we really actually believe in. I have a feeling Chris is about to, hey, there we go. Let's see it. So there's Chris's coin from last year. So what it's about, you know, and how you can use that to, you know, get really what you want. And that doesn't mean just like, you know, doing whatever it takes, screwing everybody over or anything like that. You know, it's about, you know, I don't have a prepared statement about this because it's different for everybody. And that's part of what this is about, is finding out what it means to you. When I first heard it, actually, I was like, I don't know, the term kind of seems weird to me. And then I sat down and thought about it. I was like, I like that it's different for everybody. What his POFU is not the same as me, Hernan, Chris, Marco. And I think it's really cool to talk with people about what it is you want, what you want to get, how you're going to get it. And then, you know, laying out the steps to get you there. So that's not all of what the webinar is going to be about, but I did want to talk about that. Whether or not you come to POFU Live, I think that this is really interesting and really powerful just exercise for you to really think this through and be like, what is it that I really want?
Yeah.
How am I going to get there? And then how can I provide things of value to other people that help get me there as well? So
you're trying to say people are actually going to learn something and not just be invited for a pitch fest in one of those live events?
It's just going to be nonstop offer. No. Yeah. POFU Live is awesome. You know, as far as actually going to POFU Live, you know, it's about learning. It is about finding out about what other people are doing, and it's about networking. I mean, those are 3 huge, powerful areas. We, of course, look forward to meeting you and helping you however we can while we're there. You know, I think last time, hell, we probably spent a few hours every day just talking to people, find out what they're doing, answering questions. You know, it doesn't have to be related to it. If we got the time, you know, we're going to help you. But then forming that connection with the other people was really cool between the attendees.
And I also just want to add that, you know, it's my partners and I who are Semantic Mastery, right? There's 5 of us, and we come from all different parts of the world. We each have our own separate businesses apart from this. And so we've all, and, you know, we've been together for 6 years now. And so, you know, we've all got a lot of experience that we've accrued individually as well as collectively. And I think that's kind of really what we're trying to impart with PoFu Live is in the position of fuck you, which is what, you know, it's kind of a joke, but at the same time, it is very serious in that, you know, I've learned over the years, as well as I know my partners have, that it's not just about making money or having a business. You know, it's about really living the lifestyle that you want in the way that you want, working with the people that you want, or on the projects that you want. And I know that sounds kind of like Pollyanna or whatever, like, you know, but it is something that you should be striving for. And I understand somebody just starting off might not be in a position like that, but you should be working towards that position. And that's really what we want to convey at our live event, is try to help people. And we do this in the mastermind as well, but it's not quite the same as being live with everybody in the same room, where that energy really kind of is contagious, if I may, you know. But you know, it's about just being able to kind of help people almost on an individual level to really develop their path to PoFu, right? And how to achieve that. And through all of our experience, you know, we kind of try to provide insight on how to get to that point and processes, right? Because it is a process. It's not something that's just going to happen. You're not going to come to PoFu Live and you're going to go home and you're going to be at your position of fuck you. It's not going to happen, just so you know. But it will give you the tools and the resources and the kind of the path to follow to help you to get to that point. So
definitely. So I just put the link down. You know, if you're watching the replay, I guess it's another good reason to watch live. You know, it's going to probably be too late unless you see this maybe on early Thursday or late Wednesday. But if you are watching live, you can check out the link we just put down there. Go get signed up, come check it out, see if it's for you. If not, you know, if nothing else, you are certainly going to walk away with a little bit better idea about what PoFu is and maybe what that means to you and how you can start moving things in that direction. So real quick too, wanted to say, oh, no, this is cool. I got one. I think PoFu was brought up today in the mastermind, wasn't it? I'm not going to say who it was, but one of our mastermind members had a really good post showing some results, or I should say bad results from a client who had said, hey, you know, I want to do some SEO stuff with you, but I'm not sure. And then the guy said something like, you know, oh, this guy pitched me social media for much lower cost than what you're quoting me. And then they see the traffic, the mastermind member got the traffic graphs of what happened after this guy did the work. And then the client comes back to him and says, yeah, I'd like to do SEO. I think that's actually going to work after this guy trashed my stuff, but I'd like to do it for less money. And well, and you know, that's tough and it happens to people. But what the mastermind member said was, you know, hey, take a hike, you know, get out. You're not my ideal client. You're not going to, you know, I'm not going to provide you value because clearly you're going to just be a pain in my ass and you're not going to provide value for me. And then the last thing on his post just said, you know, PoFu. So I really got a kick out of that. But that's part of what it is, right?
Yeah.
Our mastermind member wasn't telling the guy, you know, oh, I'm going to, you know, do whatever I want with your SEO, do this. He just said, hey, no, you know what? Part of his position, fuck you, is I don't want to work with people like that. You tried to pull one over on me. I'm walking away and doing what I want to do.
Yeah. Go. Good luck finding somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, best of luck to you. It's not about being a smart ass, but it's like, you know, you had your opportunity. You fired me went with the cheaper option that ended up trashing your traffic. And now you want to come back and ask for and negotiate a lower price? No, thanks. See ya. You know? So.
Definitely. So that was awesome. Made my morning. That was good to see. But also, if you are interested in joining the mastermind, you can find out more at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. That's definitely for people who are already got some clients that are already rocking and rolling. We help people grow. You know, if you're wanting to start getting your agency going, or if you've got a business and you want to start to grow that, we can certainly do that as well. But the very first thing we always recommend you do, especially if you're new to Semantic Mastery, go grab the battle plan. All right, we lay things out step by step in there, what you should do, what you need to get done. You can find out more about that at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. And last but not least, head over to the YouTube channel after Hump Day Hangouts, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Stay up to date with these as well as all the other questions that we answer there. And lastly, we always tell people to get things done, save some time, outsource. Do what you can. Go to mgyb.co. That's where we got the done for you services, right? That's links, embeds, press releases, syndication networks, RYS drive stacks, all sorts of good stuff over there. So please do that. We tell our mastermind members to do that as they're trying to grow their businesses. Tell people doing projects to do that. We use it ourselves. So good stuff going on over there. And I know that there's more stuff coming out. Got the heavy hitter packages for embeds. We got some new packages for links. So definitely go and check that out. All right, guys. Any thing else you can think of before we hop into it?
Yeah, you forgot one thing.
We're sitting on the edge of seat.
No, everybody who is coming to POFU finally gets the opportunity to kick Bradley off of spot number 1.
For what?
How's that?
From the ranking board.
How was
finally? Well, we're gonna race Bradley.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you've got to beat him though. So I mean, yeah, POFU Live. If you got a VIP ticket, gonna come go karting with us. Gonna have drinks after the go karts. Don't drink before; they won't let you on the track. And then it's gonna be a full-on championship. Actually,
I ride ATVs, not go karts. So I'm not making any claims on who's gonna be first.
That's good. Bradley might just go across the track. You know.
Bring your A game is all I'm saying.
All right, guys.
I'm ready.
Let's get into it.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's gonna be funny because those are like racing carts too. So that's gonna be fun. All right, let me grab the screen and we'll get into the questions that are here. Unfortunately, Marco's not here today, guys, because he took a week off. He hasn't had a vacation in many years, so he took a week off, and so he deserves it. So that's why he's not here today. Let's get started with. Looks like Mike says, "Hello, everyone. Can you please share some basic tips about website building? I think to create a website using WordPress plus Elementor, do you have any favorite plugins, must-have plugins, or just share the most important tips about website building? What are the basic steps of it? Thanks." Well, that's a long type of question that, there's a lot of variables that go into that. And everybody has their own choice of favorite plugins and that kind of stuff. I, first of all, just want to clarify that I try to keep we actually had a thread about this just recently in the mastermind. I think just this week, actually. One of our mastermind members was asking that he was going to take a stab at WordPress. I think it's G. And so there's a few people that have chimed in, obviously, with their own recommendations for their favorite plugins and so it's going to really vary depending on, the individual and what you're trying to accomplish. What I would recommend, though, and this was my answer in the mastermind, was that, I try to keep my WordPress installations as light as possible, as few plugins as absolutely possible, because plugins tend to make them websites, the sites load slower. There's also conflict issues that happen when there's updates. It happens often, actually, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. And so, again, I try to run my WordPress installations as light as possible, which means use as few plugins as possible. That said, I have a few that I use pretty regularly. For SEO plugin, I use the Ultimate SEO Plus, or SEO Ultimate Plus plugin, I should say, which is Jeffrey Smith's. And by the way, I'm also going to suggest this soon, very soon. There's going to be an updated kind of a version 3, a pro version, SEO Ultimate Plus Pro version of that plugin coming out, which is, in our opinion, going to be the best SEO plugin. But also, he's got the best on-page SEO training course we've ever seen. So much so that we didn't create our own because we always point people to his, and it's called SEO Bootcamp. So if you go to Semantic Mastery, and I don't know, Adam, if you want to drop the link, but SEO Bootcamp, semanticmastery.com/SEO Bootcamp. That is Jeffrey Smith's training for on-page stuff. And he goes through, how to build a site properly, how to do on-page, how to do keyword research and how to do semantic optimization for the pages. And I mean, it's just incredible what he's been able to do with on-page stuff to reduce the need, or at least to reduce the requirement of off-page SEO. Like, he's taken out some really big sites, outranked some really big sites with basically just on-page, little to no backlinks at all. And it's really, really incredible. So if you implement or apply his on-page training with like our off-page methods, which are, the drive stacks and the syndication networks and link building to those and all of that stuff, you can get incredible results, which is what, we prefer to do. So as far as plugins, like I said, SEO Ultimate Plus, the pro version is coming out soon. We can't give you an exact date on that, but it is coming out soon. And then I use some basic plugins like a caching plugin. I still use W3 Total Cache. I know there's a lot of people that like to use other types of caching plugins. I always use disable comments, Easy SSL which just helps set up the HTTPS or secure socket layer. Those are a few. Simple 301 redirects is another one. There's just a handful of plugins that I use on a consistent basis. A contact form plugin, depending on what you know, whether you're trying to generate leads or what is really going to determine what type of contact plugin that you use. What I tend to do now is use Thrive themes. I like using Thrive themes. I know you mentioned Elementor, so that's fine. Why I like Thrive themes is because they have a whole bunch of, well, themes, but they also have plugins that integrate seamlessly with their themes. So most all of the plugins that I need can be, you know, are provided by Thrive. So I don't really, you know, there's never any conflicting issues. When they update a theme, all of the plugins work seamlessly with that theme update, if that makes sense, because they're all from the same developer. And so that's why I've really started going to just using Thrive themes. And again, Elementor might have their own plugin suite. That's fine. I don't know enough about it to be able to determine. And I'm not saying Thrive is better than Elementor. I'm just saying that's what I use because most of the plugins are available that I need within the Thrive suite or Thrive package of plugins and themes, as well as landing page builders. Like, you know, I still use ClickFunnels a lot because I've gotten really good at it over the years, but you can develop landing pages very similarly like you can within ClickFunnels within Thrive, because it's drag and drop page builders. And I'm pretty sure Elementor is very, very similar to that. Plus they have a ton of landing page templates and all kinds of stuff. So those are all things that just make site builds a lot easier, more efficient. And again, I don't recommend mixing and matching a whole bunch of different developers or theme or plugin developers and things like that, because that's where the conflict issues arise. Also, one thing I want to stress, I can't stress enough, guys, is when you're going to build any site, but especially WordPress, make sure you have a really good host. Don't use these budget hosts like HostGator or GoDaddy hosting or anything like that, because you will regret it. There is no doubt you will regret it. They are a pain in the ass to work with. Your sites will load slowly. There's issues that arise all the time. Bandwidth issues. Typically, the IPs, the servers are way overcrowded. So you can be mixed in with what you call like a bad neighborhood, right? Which is where your site is on the same IP as a lot of really spammy sites. They're just not only that, but if you have problems, a lot of the times the support is slow or non-existent. So we always recommend getting a really good host. My preferred host has been for years, Liquid Web. But there are other ones out there as well. Just go with a good host, pay a little bit more money for your hosting provider, and it will pay off in the long run. Trust me. Any comments?
Definitely. Yeah, I've got a few more too. I totally agree with what Bradley said. And about the hosting, regardless of where you're at, make sure you have some sort of, usually it's via plugin, do some sort of backup. I use like MainWP and I forget what exact service they have. But I use that to make sure everything's kept up to date, put a lot of this stuff on autopilot. ClickFunnels is another big one I like, basically just because, but if you're using a theme and doing landing pages that way, that's fine. Don't worry about it. And then before you even do any of this, start looking around at websites you like. This is for like the planning phase. And you can use something like builtwith.com, I think is the URL. And you can enter URL and see a lot of times, especially if they're on WordPress, like maybe what some of the frameworks they're using are, or some of the other tools they're using, and then use that to start planning out what you're going to do. And I say this fully from my own experience. Lack of planning makes building sites such a pain in the ass when you start having to kind of patch things together, and then you realize you left out one area. You can literally draw some of this stuff out with pen and paper, maybe do some design stuff, write down what plugins you're going to need, and then maybe even sketch out like the silos, how you're going to organize the content. And get that stuff done ahead of time. And I know there's people who do this. It's been several years since I've really actually built a site from the bottom up, but putting together some spreadsheets for this stuff will save you so much time.
Yeah. Yeah. Mapping it out too. I mean, like you said, even just doing a kind of a visual, I mean, like my Snagit skills, right? Which is just kind of developing out like kind of a visual site map as to how you're going to build the site, depending on your category, like hierarchies and all that. If you're just starting out, you probably don't need to worry about any of that stuff. Really just learn about WordPress itself, play around in there. But as Adam said, backing it up is important too. A lot of good hosts will have automatic backups for you anyways. So that's another reason to have a good host. But yeah, I agree. WordPress is a bit of a beast. You know, if I could never build another WordPress site again, I would be all too happy. But it's kind of a necessary evil. So it's something that you just have to learn over. And so I've learned it over the years, and I know that I try to stick with one particular type of theme developer and get really good with that. Because if you jump from theme developer to theme developer to theme developer, every one of them has their own nuances in the way that you build sites and build themes. And customize the themes, excuse me. And so it becomes a constant learning curve. And that's why I prefer to stick with one type of theme developer and then use that, because then you get really good, really proficient with that particular developer. And it makes it so much more efficient to build sites and to correct, make repairs on sites and fix things when they break and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good question though. The next one says, or I guess it's kind of a follow-up. He says, I know it's a big subject. Maybe you can suggest any good course about it, or do you offer a website building service? No, we do not. Like I said, I don't enjoy building websites at all. I do it for clients, mostly for, optimized for lead generation and stuff, but it's not a service that we provide. As far as, like I said, SEO Bootcamp is your best it's not necessarily just a WordPress training. It's more about how to do on-page optimization, the hands down the best way I've seen. So I would recommend SEO Bootcamp if you want to learn about on-page optimization, but a lot of the times you can get, from whatever theme developer you're going to be purchasing. If it's Elementor, then so be it. I'm sure they've got tons of tutorial videos on how to customize, how to use their different plugins if they have plugins, or how to use the different theme options and how to set and customize them and all that kind of stuff. So most good developers, and I know I've heard Elementor before, so I'm pretty sure it's a good developer, are going to have a lot, an extensive library of tutorials and on how to use their stuff. So that's really key. Just don't make the mistake that I've done over the years, not so much for the last several years, but when I first started out, I would go buy those themes, the new bright, shiny themes that were being offered on JVZoo and things like that all the time, because they were inexpensive and they looked really cool and all that. But the problem with those is a lot of times those developers don't support those. They just do a big launch, they take your money, and then, a year and a half down the road, the themes no longer work and you can't get any support for them. So you end up having to switch an entire website to a different theme anyways. So stick with the themes like Elementor, for example, the theme developers, I mean, or Thrive or something like that that's been around for quite some time. Okay. Good question.
Well, and Bradley, just for that, I also pointed him towards the Facebook group. I think that's a good place he could ask. I think some people, there are services out there, some good ones. I think Hernan used one. Anyways, but join our Facebook group, ask that question about courses and services for building out sites. And I'm sure you'll get at least some ideas, if not some solid recommendations.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so the next one says, hello, everyone. I'm new here. Rapid fire questions. First, what are all those Chrome extensions that you use? Well, they're various, and some of them are just for show. No, LastPass, Xmarks, which is like my bookmarks. That one's a color grabber, or it's called ColorZilla, but that's just so I can, if I've got to match a color when I'm creating something, then it just tells me what the, what do they call it? The hex value of the color is or whatever, so I can match that up. I've got BitLink, which just does short, a lot of the times when I'm taking notes on stuff that I'm researching, I'll just grab the URL and this just creates a short link. That's Pocket. So it's like it's a content bookmarking site. So we use it on our syndication networks, actually, our IFTTT syndication networks. So I actually use Pocket to kind of group content together for things that are useful for me. That's Google Tag Manager. Google Tag Assistant, which helps you to figure out if you've got your Tag Manager tags set up correctly on landing pages and conversion tracking, remarketing pixels, all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I use a lot. That's my Google Hangouts plugin. I've got a ton of stuff up here, guys. This is a really cool one. This is called Link Gopher, and that one's great if you're trying to extract all the URLs of a web page. All you got to do is, again, it's called Link Gopher, Chrome extension. All these are free, I believe. But that's really good because you just click that and it will open up in a new browser window or new tab, essentially, with all of the URLs just all in one place on that, basically line by line with different URL on each line. So it's great when you're trying to build, like link target lists and things like that. So those are always really good. I mean, I could go on and on and on, guys, but I've got, just a bunch of stuff on here that I use pretty regularly, and that's why they're up there. Some of them are really, I don't use that much anymore. Like that's an email address finder, Open Graph Preview they have for social media posts and things like that. But anyways, I've gave you a few of the ones that I use most often. Like one thing I want to recommend though is don't, you know, it might look like I've got a lot of them, but one of them I still got up there is Webinar Jam, and we haven't used Webinar Jam in forever. I could probably get rid of that one. Is you don't want to, like, I know that make sure it's a trusted Chrome extension, because a lot of times if it's something that's rather new, they can cause like issues with your browser or make stuff not work properly. And so just keep that in mind. Very much like what I was talking about WordPress stuff. If you're trying out a brand new extension that doesn't have much of a history, just be aware that it could cause funny things to happen while you're browsing. So look to see if they've been around for a bit. The second, or I guess the next thing was, second question is, what is the biggest difference between SEO and local SEO? Well, there's really no difference, except that local SEO, well, I guess there is a bit of a difference. A lot of the same principles apply to both. However, with local SEO, a lot of the times you're trying to rank also in maps. If you think about SEO, you know, search engine optimization, which I think is more than just ranking in search engines. I know the title is, or the name is search engine optimization, but I think SEO encompasses a lot more than specifically ranking in search engines now, right? Because it includes content marketing and what Marco calls as art, right? Activity, relevance, trust, and authority. All of these different things that go into SEO to be successful at SEO. But the principles for both SEO and local SEO are applied to both of those. In other words, the general principles apply to both. The difference is with local SEO, a lot of the times you're trying to rank on a local level, right? For search queries that have local intent. Those are people that are searching for local businesses, like local contractor services, or, you know, restaurants near me, or a pet store in my town or my area, right? And or perhaps even adding the actual local modifier. So those are, just consider it like searches with local intent as local SEO. And because of that, a lot of the times you get maps involved, right? Google Maps involved. And when you do that, then there's you know, that's kind of a whole different division of SEO, if you will, where there's a lot of additional things that you can do for Google Maps that you wouldn't necessarily need to do on an affiliate level, right? Or a national or a global level, or, I mean, it could even be regional for that matter. My point is that a lot of the on-page optimization techniques, off-page stuff like link building and providing the relevant signals, like I just talked about, activity, relevance, trust, and authority, all of that applies no matter what your project is. But local SEO can also include optimizing for maps, right? So that, and for local searches with local intent. And so that you can add additional things in there. For example, you wouldn't want, typically, you're not going to be optimizing a Google My Business profile for a affiliate site. I mean, I guess you could, but technically people don't. I don't really see the value in that unless you expect to generate a lot of traffic from locally for an affiliate offer or something like that. But you've also got to worry about, you know, making sure that it fits within the proper terms of use for local, like Google My Business anyways. But again, you know, the same type of on-page principles are going to apply to both that type of a site, like an affiliate site, as well as to getting better results for your local sites. So just keep that in mind. You know, again, maps are usually included with local SEO, whereas something that's not necessarily a local business where they're targeting a specific, you know, local area, then you don't typically get maps involved and worry about the optimization, having to learn how to do optimization on that end of it, if that makes sense. You guys want to comment on that at all?
No, sir.
Okay, moving on then. Fitz is up. What's up, Fitz? He says, "Good day, gents. Thanks for this very helpful form. It is appreciated. I have a client who's getting the smackdown from a competitor." That sucks. The organic went straight down like the cliff tourists jump off of Rick's Cafe in Jamaica. Okay. I got them RYS plus a small boost, started weekly press releases and plan a medium link building in 60 days. Site is over 3 years old. Did I miss anything? Well, if your site dropped that you're working on, you know, is it that your site dropped, or is it that your competitor just all of a sudden outranked you? Like, or is it a combination of both? Because if your site dropped, that leads me to believe that there's probably an algorithmic penalty that's in play. So how do you determine that? Well, one thing you can do is look at Search Console. If you have your site, you know, associated or attached to Search Console, then you could take a look at the manual actions and see if there's any manual actions. Now, that's not the same as an algorithmic action, but I would check there first. And I'm assuming, Fitz, that you know that already, and you probably have. And if it says no manual actions found, then there's a few things that you can do to determine if you're kind of in an algorithmic penalty. Number one, do a brand search, right? And see if your money site, so the self-hosted website for that particular brand, is the first URL to rank, right? If it's not, if, like, for example, I'm assuming it's a local business. So like Yelp, if Yelp outranks your money site for your brand search, then there's a chance that is a good chance that your website is experiencing some sort of an algorithmic penalty. And then again, that's not going to show in Search Console as a manual action. So these are some of the things you can do. Another thing you can do is search Google for the domain name and see, once again, does the domain name rank number one for the domain name search? If it doesn't, then it's very likely that it's experiencing an algorithmic penalty of some sort. And if that's the case, if that's what you discover, then it's probably, either not, it can be a combination of on-page issues or off-page issues, or a combination of both. Does that make sense? And so then you really have to analyze I always start with the on-page first. Take a look at the site, look at the structure of the site, the internal linking, our pages. Are any of the pages over optimized? Do you have duplicate content? If you're using WordPress and you're posting and you've got tags, do you have unique tags? Because unique tags on a post create basically a duplicate page of the same post, if that makes sense. So that creates duplicate content. There's just a ton of things that you can do to determine on page if you have issues. We were just talking about this in the mastermind again. Use a web crawler, a site crawler like Screaming Frog, for example, to look at the technical aspect of the site to see if there's any issues with broken links, URLs, duplicate meta tags, or SEO titles, that kind of stuff. So Screaming Frog is a really good tool for crawling a site to find potential issues with the site structure itself. Then you go again, look at backlink profile. Everything that we teach, fortunately, is about creating an SEO firewall and then doing all of the external link building to that SEO firewall. And that SEO firewall is Google properties and high authority third-party sites that we can use to filter all of anything nasty that we want to do externally. We can do to that, and it basically launders or filters any bad juice or bad equity out and just pushes relevancy into the main entity, which is our asset, our primary asset, right? So again, if you're experiencing a significant drop and it's not just that your competitor outranked you all of a sudden, it's probably some sort of penalty, whether manual or algorithmic. And there's, like I mentioned, a few different ways to look at it to determine if there's an algorithmic penalty. If it's manual, then you'll know, it'll say so in Search Console, and then figure out what is causing the penalty and try to remedy that. Fortunately, if it's an on-page thing, that can be fixed rather easily. And after it gets fixed, you'll generally see an improvement within a matter of a few weeks. Off-page SEO issues are a bit tougher to clean up. And again, it could be a million different things, but I've in the past been very successful with actually disavowing links if I found really toxic links pointing to the site. Although Marco would tell you not to do that if Marco was here, but since he's not, he can't rebut what I'm saying. But he always said, don't ever use disavow tool. But I've actually been successful with getting off-page penalties removed from disavowing links. So it's been a couple of years since I've done that, because I don't do off-page link building direct to the money site anymore. We do everything the way that we teach. So I haven't had to experience that. But years ago, I would take on clients that already were experiencing issues, and I would figure out first do a backlink. Well, it's always on page first, but then I would get to the off page analysis and figure out what could be potentially causing problems, and then disavow, bad links essentially. So anybody want to comment on that? Chris or Adam?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay. So yeah, again, I would start with on-page stuff first, determine if it's an algorithmic penalty. If it's just that somebody's outranking you, well then, as far as the steps, yeah, put all the pieces together, Fitz. That's key. We talk about this, right? Syndication network, RYS drive stack plus gsite that is mirrored, theme mirroring. You mirror the structure of those as the same type of structure that you have on your website. Then you can do press releases, which is kind of like a link building tool anyways. And additional link building to your SEO firewall, create an ad ID page. That's what we call the entity loop. That's how you close that entity loop. You want to do all of that stuff. When you put all those pieces together, then that's really when you'll start seeing significant results. But if you're experiencing a penalty, again, I would try to remedy that first before, or while you're building the other components, putting the other pieces together. I would work on trying to figure out and work on whatever's causing the penalty is what I'm saying. So the next question says, Mike, or it's from Mike. He says, how to create a silo structure for local service, how to sort out the different service keywords with different city names. Can you please show a visual example of it? Thanks a lot. No, I can't. And the reason why is because we just went over this in the mastermind. Actually, for the last 2 mastermind webinars, the first a month ago, essentially, I did basically a conceptual overview of how I because we had a mastermind member ask this very specifically. If you're in the mastermind, you can go watch the previous 2 webinars that we've had, the most recent 2 webinars that we've had, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not in the mastermind, it's first of all, it takes a while to explain how to structure all that stuff right. There are some interesting things that happen when you're trying to, especially for a service area business, which is I think what you're talking about, which is where, like, let's say a plumber, right? So a plumber that might cover, an entire county, and the county, let's just for simplicity's sake, say has 4 different, town names or city names within the county itself, and they cover all 4. What happens if you try to create a silo structure with services and then try to optimize each service for each separate location, then you end up having a lot of times URL conflicts because of you're trying to duplicate the same areas within different topical silos, if that makes sense, or service silos, if you'd rather look at it that way. And it can be, especially if you're using a complex silo structure, which is typically how you would do it for a service area business with multiple services, right? So the problem, it creates a problem. And I know I fought that for years. I would have to map sites out literally. That's why I talked about earlier, creating a visual site map of how you plan to build a site, because it would take me a while to plan before I would ever start building, to try to figure out how to reconcile potential issues or prevent issues from occurring when you have complex silo structure where you're trying to combine both topical plus location-based silos. Very difficult to do without having a real solid plan. And what happens is if you end up changing your plan at any time, it can create a real mess out of the site in the silo structures. So I kind of developed a way how to get away around that. And again, I can't really go into detail here because it's a big can of worms to open up, number one. And you also would probably need some visual aids, to actually see what I'm talking about. But what I've developed, and kind of did this out of necessity for a specific project, was to create topical silos, but then use tags. Tags as your actual way to create location relevancy for each one of the topical silos or services in this case. And it's a very unique way to do it. It works very, very well. And combined with what we teach with the Google sites and the RYS stacks, for example, you can do some really incredible things. But again, you'd have to see it, right? In the mastermind, we talked about it very specifically. And just last week on the last mastermind webinar, I actually showed some examples. I'm kind of building that out on my newest website that is for my own business, and I'm sharing that with our members. So unfortunately, I can't show you here, but just know that what I recommend is trying to keep to a simple silo structure if possible, which is just pages, top level categories, and posts. And then, because complex silo structures are, just like the name says, complex, and they can become a nightmare to deal with over time, unless you have a real solid strategy up front. And so I recommend sticking with a simple silo structure, and then start thinking about how you can use tags and categories specifically to create the location relevancy with your posts in each topical or service silo, if that makes sense, right? or come join the mastermind, and then I can show you much more in depth with videos and visual aids.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, if go head over to YouTube and just search for Semantic Mastery Silo, and you'll get a lot of awesome videos with Bradley's drawings and some, excuse me, some good explanations though too on some of these areas.
Yeah. So the next question is from KD. Says, okay, boys, I just bought 4 nitro link packages from mgyb, and I am super pumped to see what these puppies can do. A couple of questions. I plan to use 1 pack per month for the next 4 months to boost my client's site. Okay. First question is, should the link pack, son of a bitch, I hate it when this thing does that. All right, let me back up again. Okay, so first question is, should the link pack hit the client's target all at once? Example, month 1, the link package would hit all the syndication networks, gsite and PR Advantage page links, or is it better to blast the whole link package at a single main target and then change the target each month, i.e. month 1 hit only the syndication network, month 2 hit only the press advantage page, etc. If it's better to hit only 1 main target per month with the whole link package, doesn't matter which order to hit them. No, it really doesn't matter. You know, it's 6 in one, half dozen in another, because the key with the link building packages is that you need to do them fairly regularly anyways, right? Because what happens is a lot of these links will end up, you know, the pages that get created, the content during the link building process will fall out of the index over time, right? And so hitting something with a link building package, you can't, it's not a one and done type of thing. Now you can stagger them out. For example, you know, if you were going to do, you know, kind of direct all of your link building packages to just the drive stack, for example, on month 1, then you could do, you know, syndication network month 2, month 3, the press advantage stuff, and ad ID page or something like that. However you work it out, to if you wanted to stagger it out, the only thing that does is it allows you to create kind of a ongoing process out of it. So, you know, if month one is the syndication network, month 2 is the drive stack, and let's just say those are the only 2 things you're going to target, then month 3 could be the syndication network again, month 4 could be the drive stack, right? So you can create a regular recurring type of campaign that's very logical that way. But it doesn't really matter. You can hit everything all at once too. Just remember, you want to hit your SEO firewall, not your money site, right? You do not want to include that as part of your URLs in the target URLs. That said, also remember what you're hitting with the link building packages too, right? So for example, if you're using like an ad ID page and you have, you know, that you're going to be link building to, just remember not to directly link to your money site URL from that, because that, although it's an Amazon page, what I like to do is use an embed instead, right? So you iframe your money site into the ad ID page instead of having a direct link to it, if that makes sense. So that when you're hitting it with these links, you're not even opening the possibility of any negative, you know, consequences of having a spam link package, which is what they are, pointing to a direct URL back to your money site, if that makes sense. Using the embeds, that's a different story, right? So iframing and iframe stacking, and that's really what the whole entity loop is all about. It's about creating this iframe entity loop that surrounds or protects or creates an SEO firewall around your money site. But you can push all that relevancy into it through the iframes without any links directly linking back to your money site, except through like Google properties, for example, like drive stack properties. So that's the difference. As far as the way that I would personally do it, I don't think it matters either way. I would love to hear Marco's opinion on this, but the way that I would do it is I would probably maybe split up, you know, do about whatever your total targets are, is maybe do half of them month 1 and half of them month 2. And then month 3, do the first half again, month 4, do the second half again. And again, that's just to create kind of a regular recurring link building service out of it. And that's something that I also recommend, guys, that you build that into your budget when you're quoting a client or prospect, right? Because those are all things that it's not a one and done, you know, it's just like citation building or content marketing for that matter. It's something that should be done consistently and regularly so that you continually benefit from it, right? So hopefully that makes sense. If it is it better to hit 1 main target per month while the whole, or does it matter which order you hit them? No. Like, is it better to hit the syndication network before the G site or vice versa? Also want to buy the maps and the ID page embeds Should I wait till these 4 months of link packages are done? Well, here's a good idea, right? You can also buy a maps or an ID page embed campaign. And you can also, by the way, you can create an iframe out of your gsite, for example. So you can run an embed campaign on your gsite, right? There's a number of things that you can do. So you can also use your link building packages to build links to your embed gigs, right? So you get your embed report back, and then you can submit your embed links to have link building sent to your embeds. So that's essentially like the pages that are created for the embed campaign, where you've got your iframes, GMB, or excuse me, Google site, or your GMB map, or your ad ID page, or you can, you can iframe your GMB website, for example. All of those things can be iframed into the content pages that are created for the embed campaigns. And then you can actually take that list of embed URLs that you get back and submit those as for link building target URLs, if that makes sense. So you can actually power that up as well. So you can do a number of things. Like, I just try to vary things up consistently, but create a regular recurring type of schedule out of it, if that makes sense. Because here's the thing, you don't want to start building, like throw 4 packages of links at all of your target URLs, entity URLs all at once, right? Or over the next 4 months, and then stop dead in its tracks, because that'll look suspicious, right? That's all of a sudden you have all this link velocity, and then all of a sudden it just ends. Then that's not good. You want to kind of keep your foot on the gas and keep steady at it, if that makes sense. All right. The site is a couple years old with a few decent rankings, but competition is fierce. I'm hoping mgyb will help me show them who's the boss, so I can buy more links. Thanks. Yeah, again, I recommend just build out, just like I recommended to one of the previous questions, is build out all of those entity assets first, and then start systematically, kind of on a regular recurring schedule, powering up those entity assets, right? Instead, so that you're constantly feeding back into it. And that's where you're going to get the most power. Does your press release service in the mgyb store have all the same features as one directly from Press Advantage? It does right now, but we were going to have a Press Advantage update webinar for the new features that are going to be rolled out. It was going to be Monday, but next Monday, the 30th, but we had to push it back another week. And there are going to be some new features that are only rolling out if you have your own Press Advantage subscription, unfortunately. But I completely understand why. It's for like really some of the stuff that is coming is only if you have your own subscription. But for right now, yeah, everything that is available as a subscriber of with your own subscription package is available in mgyb. For example, can we add a retargeting pixel? Yes, if you contact support, you can. As far as I know, unless Rob's going to kick me for this, but no, you should be able to, because it's fairly simple to do. If you have your own retargeting pixel from Facebook, and it's for a particular organization, and you're going to be publishing press releases for that organization fairly regularly, then it would make sense to create the remarketing pixel. And that could actually be assigned to the organization page now, so that all press releases for that particular organization have that pixel included with the press release, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's and do they include links for each release, as they mentioned in the sales video from several months ago? Do they include links? Do they include links for each release? I'm not sure what that means, unless you're talking about like getting the link reports, the distribution reports. Yeah, I'm sure you can request those if we don't already. I don't order through mgyb because I order, I've got my own subscription, but I'm pretty sure that you get the link reports, which can be used to do whatever you want. As far as daisy chaining them together for the same organization to where you're basically press release stacking, I think you can do that. I don't know. I'd have to check on that. I'll tell you what, best thing to do, contact support at mgyb.co, and we can answer those questions specifically. Okay. I don't run the store, so I can't answer them definitively, but you can ask us at mgyb.co, support at mgyb.co, and we can get you definitive answers. Lastly, are the purge levels still pretty low? Yes, that's one of the benefits or beauties of, Jeremy and Press Advantage, is that he's been able to negotiate with a lot of the distribution sites to extend the purging considerably. Like in a lot of sites that would purge in 30 days, a lot of times now are on the Press Advantage network, or 90 days or even 180 days. So you get much, much more longevity out of each distribution. Okay. Daniela says, hey guys, recently purchased a Battleplan and watched the 2 webinars about advanced RSS strategies in the Battleplan. I have a question about the Rankfeedr Bonus webinar. At some point in the video, a G+ page is part of the setup. As G+ is not supported anymore, can you explain how this process works for now? Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, G+ was great when it was there. There was SEO benefit for using it, but you don't need to use it. So in other words, if you don't have a Google+ page to include in the Rankfeedr, like sticky items, for example, then it doesn't matter. You could use, you know, another entity asset, for example, a Google site. If you've got a drive stack and a Google site, which is what we totally recommend. It's foundational, right? You can use the Google site at the homepage URL or an inner page URL of the Google site as a sticky item in the Rankfeedr feed, if that makes sense. You could use a drive stack folder, like the primary drive stack folder or an inner folder, right? So you could do that. There's a number of things that you could do. Like if it's for local stuff, you could use the GMB website URL, right? So the .business.site URL as opposed to the Google+. If you got an ad ID page, use the ad ID page URL as because remember, that's all that is essentially a URI, universal resource indicator, right? It's a page that has all of your entity assets basically listed on the page or iframed into the page, as well as JSON LD markup, right? So again, that's a very, very powerful URL to include as a sticky item in the Rankfeedr. Google+ was great because we used it as what we called a semantic hub. You could add a bunch of links in there. It was a Google property. But if you can't use that anymore, which you can't, then substitute it with something else that would achieve similar SEO results, right? Which is to help solidify the entity. Again, an ad ID page is perfect for that. A Google site, it's perfect for, or a drive stack. Either one of those is perfect for that kind of a thing. So just include one of those instead. All right. Austin says, to have an image show up on mobile searches for a site, is that schema related, or is it just up to Google if they select an image? That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. Does one of you guys have an answer to that?
No, one sec. I read it a couple minutes ago. To have an image. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Sorry, I can't answer that one, Austin Dawn, excuse me. The next one is also with mobile searches. Why do some sites have the brand name listed above instead of the URL at the top? Again, I couldn't answer that. I'm curious as to.
Yeah, I forgot. I remember when they came out with that. That's like with the icons. And so again, this is not the definitive answer because wouldn't worry too much about it. I'm sure it's probably related if they can crawl and see that that's the website title or the brand associated, you know, with the entity. But
they do that on even Google search now.
Yeah, like which is what search. They're showing in the. Did you blow up the image? That's what the screenshot shows.
Yeah. Well, that was a mobile search, but you can see that like here, for example, same thing.
Yep.
You see that? So you can see the actual, you know, basically what do they call that? The favicon, the icon directly in the search results now. So, and again, that's not something that I know that you can optimize for. I think Google just does it. They just take the favicon and put it in the actual search results. As far as why do some have a name as opposed to the URL, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if you can optimize for that or not. I'm sure you can. I'm not sure. That's something interesting. I'd like to find out because that would be something I would want to do. So that's probably schema, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm almost sure it would be schema though. So, okay, let's see. The next or last question, it looks like, and that's cool. We're almost out of time anyways, is he says, I meant backlinks to rank each release for press advantage. Thanks. Do they build backlinks to each link, to each press releases? I think what you're saying. I think they do, but I'd have to confirm that with Jeremy. I think they do because remember, he had his own SEO fulfillment service from a previous company that basically all the infrastructure is still there. And so if I remember correctly, they do build backlinks to each press release distribution because to the press advantage URL, right? So where it's published on the press advantage domain, they build backlinks to it. As far as I know. Now I'll have to get clarification on that. So if you want and post this question again next week, I will have an answer for you because I chat with Jeremy daily. So I can find out for sure, but I'm pretty sure that they do build backlinks to the press advantage published PR, right? So your press release published on the Press Advantage domain, because it only benefits the Press Advantage domain as a whole, makes it more powerful and more strong. But again, I'd have to confirm that to be 100% sure. And you could either contact us at support or post that same question for next week and I'll get a definitive answer, or even use the free Facebook group and post that question in there, and I'll tag Jeremy on it and let him come in and answer it directly. Okay, that's another thing you could do. So, okay, if I don't see any other questions, guys, we're going to wrap it up. It's good timing. I got to go get my daughter anyways.
Awesome.
So, you guys good?
Sounds good. Yeah, and like just want to remind everybody, if you want to join us for the PoFu Live webinar on Thursday, which is tomorrow,
at 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yep. I will pop the link in there again. Make sure you be there, and definitely we will send out a replay though if you can't. So get signed up either way, and hopefully we'll see you there live.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
See you.